Hey, DJ, what comes to mind when I say eat it? Rocky Road, Spam, lasagna.
Pregnancy cravings?
What? No, we're talking about Weird Al today. Remember we saw the Weird Al movie.
We're a couple of guys who like to watch movies, cinema nerds who made it our duty to make a show where we break down, discuss, and review. We're the men who watch movies.
Hello, everybody. We're back. And we're the men who watch movies. Sorry for the lack of video for the Halloween episode. Accidentally left my computer behind, and we didn't get that up to you. We have something great recorded for that episode. We might post it somewhere, but the season is over, and we're back to reviewing regular movies instead of spooky movies. Anywho, my name is Alec.
And my name's DJ, the Movie Man Wagner, also known as the CEO, the chairman of entertainment, and the men who watch movies, and the vice president, Alec Castrejón, of the men who watch movies.
Oh, yeah. We have another wonderful episode for you today. We're talking about Weird, the Weird Al biopic released on Roku. And man, was it a wild ride. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It's pretty much what we expected, right?
Oh, yeah, it was really, really awesome.
But there were some twists and turns. We'll go ahead and talk about that for you. We're going to get into some spoiler territory, so just be cautious of that. But first, before we talk about Weird, we're going to get into a little movie news this week.
In movie news!
All right, for this week in movie news, my first bit of movie news that I have for you, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. We've been talking about this for a while now.
I saw the trailer, and it was very, very different.
I don't know if we talked about this before, but they have a release date. It's coming out February 15th. It's very close to Valentine's Day.
I have no idea, but I don't know if I'm going to see it or not, because I saw the trailer, and it looks weird.
Hopefully it'll be available on, where we can rent it on streaming or something.
Yeah, or something like that, because I'm surprised.
I am very curious about this movie. I want to see it, but I don't know if I want to go to the theaters to see it.
I have no idea, but
we'll see. Well, as soon as we get a chance to watch it, we'll do a review of that. Very odd choice to come out.
Very odd, indeed.
To Valentine's Day, but as you've theorized before, when they release a horror movie towards Valentine's Day, the blood is red. Red is a Valentine's Day color. I mean, it's very appropriate, I guess.
I guess, but
if you want to have that.
I have no idea.
Some sort of connection.
Inappropriate for a Valentine's movie? I have no idea. Yeah, let's get started on this special new podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not new, but anyway. Moving on. This is a little bit off the trail of movie news. We don't mean to get too off topic here, but
too off topic.
There's a lot of stuff going around the Twitterverse because I don't know if you heard, but Elon Musk, he had purchased Twitter finally after going back and forth and getting threatened with legal action. Yeah, he finally purchased it. He's making some controversial blah 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 blah. I can't speak already. This is becoming a thing.
Do you understand the words that are coming out from my mouth?
He's making some controversial changes already. One of them being he's going to start charging. So I don't know if you've seen Twitter at all, but if you're usually like some kind of figure, a public figure, like a celebrity or somebody, you have a little blue verification check mark. He's going to start charging for that. He's saying that he doesn't like that hierarchy system, and he's going to make it so you pay $8 and anyone can get a blue check mark. I don't think that's a good idea because I feel like anyone can make some bullshit account and just become verified for nothing. It's going to become worthless. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks pretty different. Elon Musk, the inventor of the Tesla.
Yes. The reason I bring it up is because Stephen King, novelist and, of course, creator of such stories like It and, Pet Sematary and whatnot, he's kind of fighting back against this. He says it's bullshit. Apparently, he's been commenting back and forth with Elon Musk. He says, $20 a month to keep my blue check. He said, fuck that. They should pay me. If that gets instituted, I'm gone like Enron. So he's not happy about it. And I agree with them. I feel like it's like, all these content creators who actually are worth something, they're creating all this content, for Twitter. And that's what's driving a lot of the traffic on Twitter. It's like, and why should they have to pay them? Even though they can afford it, it's like, why? Now you're going to have a bunch of people who aren't doing crap for Twitter going to be able to buy a blue check mark. I heard a lot of people are going to start trolling Twitter and buying blue check marks just to impersonate famous people to show them how stupid this is. Anywho, I'm getting a little too off topic here. But I thought that was funny, a comment from Stephen King. All right. Moving on. All right, in our next bit of movie news, apparently the October box office sinks to a 21-year low. Apparently the 468 million monthly domestic total is down 25%. What do you think about that?
That's very, very odd.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
considering movies have made substantial amount of money in the box office, it's very weird that the box office is, dropping its money or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of good movies coming out. I mean, I think the biggest one right now is Black Adam. Have you seen that?
Not really.
No,
but I have seen the trailer, and it has
it looks great. I heard great things about
Viola
it.
Davis.
Yeah, and it has a great audience score. I mean, I still want to see it. I mean, but I feel like besides that, there's a whole lot of huge stuff going on in the box office. So, I mean, that's probably why they need to start putting out more movies, higher quality movies. I can see why there's a drop, but I mean, Black Adam's still going strong. I mean, it's projected to top, the box office again the third week. So, I mean, it's doing great. I mean, I feel like, overall, theaters are kind of dying out. I mean, the only thing that's keeping them up right now is these big tentpole movies, What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's pretty, somewhat of a different, but when I hear about, movies that are doing good in the box office, they make substantial amount of money. I mean,
it's good for, it's good for theaters. I mean, do you think theaters will survive? I mean, I feel like blockbusters are almost dead. I mean, you have like Disney, kind of keeping up with the blockbuster, and Warner Brothers is trying hard as hell. Now that they have, a new creative team behind their franchises and whatnot. I mean, do you think theaters will survive?
Probably.
I mean, I hope so. I do like going to theater, but I mean, a lot of the future is streaming now, which, I don't mind. I don't mind it being available in the home. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for cinema.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers is desperately trying to, recapture a lot of its franchises. Apparently, the CEO wants more Harry Potter movies. They're trying to focus more on their franchises. He was talking about how they haven't had a Harry Potter movie in like 25 years or something like that. It's crazy.
But I have a question.
What's that?
Is Daniel Radcliffe going to be in the Harry Potter movies?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's in the early stages of discussion, so I have no idea what they have planned, if it's going to be something separate from the Harry Potter saga or whatnot. But David Zaslav has emphasized that Warner Brothers Discovery will have a real focus on franchises moving forward. That they're gonna try and do some more Harry Potter stuff. He also talked about how they haven't had a Superman movie in 13 years. They haven't had a Harry Potter movie in, I said 25 years. It seems like 25 years, but it's been 15 years since their last Harry Potter movie. And so they're going to start focusing on franchises and building up their, repertoire. Like I've said before, they're trying to build those tent poles, to keep up those theater numbers. So let's see if it works. Do you think WB will succeed?
I'm pretty sure it will succeed. Considering the amount of TV shows they're making,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it will be successful. But yeah, it's successful and whatnot.
We'll see. I mean, I think with the new creative team, I think they have a really good shot.
I see this as an absolute win.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you never know. And next bit of movie news. Apparently, Disney is still churning out those shitty live action reboots. Another one down the pike is Disney's live action Hercules movie that's going to be headed by, I think, both the Russo brothers.
I heard about that.
You did?
Who's going to play Hercules?
I have no idea. I haven't read too much into it. I don't know if they cast anybody yet, but apparently they said Joe Russo said that Disney's live action Hercules movie will be more experimental and inspired by TikTok. You know what TikTok is?
Oh yeah, that stuff where you talk and
yeah, it's like a short video app where like people they usually do like comedy videos, and a lot of people like dance and do weird dances and shit. I don't know. I'm not into all that. I'm outdated like that, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they're trying to modernize movies to be more like TikTok? I don't know what that means.
It looks pretty interesting, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. So far, most of what Disney's putting out in terms of like rehashing their animated features as live action features, it hasn't been going so well. I don't know why they keep doing it, especially after that Pinocchio one. It just, yeah.
Yeah, it was not my favorite at all.
No.
I was highly surprised about it, about how they were going to make it, but
yeah. They need to come up with new ideas. How about that?
They need to come up with new ideas, and that's correct.
Our last bit of movie news. A little bit of fun news. It's from the Muppet Christmas Carol. Of course, we got Christmas coming up fast, like a freight train. This year is almost over. Apparently, the Muppet Christmas Carol is getting an extended cut for Disney Plus. There's a song that they cut out. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this too. I've seen this version where they have a song that they cut out because they thought it was too serious for a children's movie. It's a song "When Love Is Gone."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
When Ebenezer Scrooge's girlfriend breaks up with him, and then he becomes bitter towards Christmas and whatnot, and that's one of the reasons. And they had this whole song. It was really sad, and there's even when Ebenezer travels back to the past, he cries during the scene, and it was the whole thing. I loved it, and they cut it out because they thought it was like, I guess, too serious for kids and whatnot. They're putting it back in, so that's going to be available soon, I believe, within this next upcoming month. So it's going to be great to see that back in there. I always thought it was awkward that they cut it out. I actually like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it looks very interesting. However, the song in Muppet's Christmas Carol, "When Love Is Gone," it's a real tearjerker for me, actually. It made me really, really sad for some reason.
Yeah, it was. I liked that. I liked having that serious moment in this silly Muppet movie because there's a lot of serious moments in Muppet Christmas Carol. And of course, you have the Tiny Tim scene where he passes away, and there's a lot of that seriousness amongst the silliness that really, it really gave it that great contrast, and it made it like one of the best interpretations of A Christmas Carol that I've seen. Would you agree?
I would agree.
You would concur.
I concur.
Nice. All right. I believe that wraps up this week in movie news.
Yep.
All right, let's get on to the show. So, what did you think about the Weird Al story?
It was very, very, very good.
Oh yeah, definitely. Was it what you expected to see, or was it surprising?
It was surprisingly good.
Yeah, there was. I expected it to be funny. I've seen the Funny or Die sketch it was based off of, and of course, this was produced by Funny or Die. I thought I knew pretty much what to expect, and it was overall, I think, it was pretty much what I expected, but they added a lot of crazy twists and turns in there that was fun. It kept
a lot of crazy turns in that movie.
Yeah, definitely. There's some things that I didn't expect. It was surprising, especially the ending. We're not going to get into that just yet, but be warned, we will be talking about spoilers. But just know that this is not really Weird Al's life. Don't want to burst anyone's bubbles, but he wasn't that much of a wild card. He was a weird guy. But not, I think they made him, kind of like Dewey Cox was, if anyone's seen the Dewey Cox story.
Oh, I have.
with John C. Reilly. He was kind of like an amalgam of different, artists, in their rise to fame and then their fall and then their redemption. It's very much in that vein. It kind of follows similar paths to other famous artists, and it kind of takes that and then rolls it into, into one singular character. And in this case, it's, the fictional Weird Al Yankovic. I thought that's pretty hilarious to see him go through all these, serious moments, but then have, in the background, it had like, it was with a wink. It wasn't, it wasn't done seriously because, obviously he didn't go through all this stuff. What did you think about the tone of that?
It was very, very different.
Yeah, it was surprising seeing him act out, like that. Because I see him, he's always very goofy, and he's always very he seems like a warm guy.
Oh yeah, he's very, very, very funny.
But to see him act like, very, just out there, he's very angry, and what did you see? What did you think of him being like that?
I thought it was weird.
What's very fitting for it's called Weird. What do you think about Daniel Radcliffe? I think he did a great job.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah,
100% awesome.
He wasn't 100% Weird Al impression, but he got the vibe. He got what was going on, and I feel like he jumped between having that real kind of Weird Al feel to him, and then this surreal Weird Al where he's going off the the chain and just going nuts and succumbing to the alcohol and being a real asshole.
That was not true.
He played of course, but he played those dual sides very well.
It was a very, very terrific performance by Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah. I thought it was hilarious. Of course, the movie starts, with seeing him as a kid. Well, the very first scene we see, it's like a typical biopic movie where it starts with the most dramatic scene first, and then it goes back to the beginning. So we see him where he's he's being taken to the hospital. He's basically on the verge of dying. We have no idea what the heck happens, but he's being rushed to the hospital. We see, I believe that's Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? Is the doctor.
Oh yeah,
is trying to revive him.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah, and then he almost calls his death. But then Weird Al springs up from the table. He's alive. And then we cut back to seeing his childhood. And of course, we see his parents, his dad played by Toby Huss.
The great thespian himself, who is famous for voicing Con Supernussenphone on King of the Hill and was on Cotton Hill and Down Periscope.
Oh, he was on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been on a lot of stuff, especially recently. And if anyone is a Nickelodeon fan, he also played Artie, the strongest man in the world. And
oh, yeah,
the Adventures
that was him.
Of Pete and Pete.
I remember that show.
It was pretty hilarious. It's the typical parents, that you see in a movie where they want to do something and the parents don't approve of it. He's just a weird kid. He wants to play. He's obsessed with Dr. Demento. He was a radio DJ that played a lot of weird, odd songs on the radio. And he's obsessed with listening to his program, and that's where he got his inspiration for writing silly songs and parody songs and whatnot. His dad didn't want him listening to that, and eventually there was a guy going door to door selling accordions, played by Thomas Lennon from Reno 911, and a bunch of other stuff as well. And he tries selling Al an accordion, and his dad walks in and he starts beating the shit out of the accordion salesman. That was insane. That was intense.
That was insane. I mean, holy moly!
He's like, "What are you doing in my house? Selling my kid an accordion?" He beats him near to death. He's laying there bleeding on the floor, and then
holy moly.
But eventually his mom, after his dad walks away, his mom feels bad for the accordion salesman. It's like, we'll buy one for you. We'll just got to keep it a secret. And then she's telling Al about how, we just need to make sure that your dad doesn't find out. And then the poor accordion salesman's laying on the floor I think I have a collapsed lung. She's like, "Shh, I'm trying to have a conversation with my son here." That's the kind of comedy that you can expect from this movie.
Comedy is awesome.
Yeah. And then at the at the dinner table, like the dad keeps trying to get Al to work with him at the factory. It's funny because it's like some generic factory, and Al keeps asking him like, what do you exactly do there? He's like, it's just a factory. We build things. Like, build what? And then they can never answer what they build. But he was telling some story about how his coworker had an horrific accident and he died, and then the dad lost a hand into one of the machines. But then he's like, hey, since there's an opening, why don't you come work for me, son? And no, he doesn't want to work there. He wants to write songs. He wants to make music for a living. But of course, his dad doesn't approve. He's very angry about it. He yells at him about it. It's like that typical disapproving parents thing that you see in a lot of stuff like that. What do you think of that?
Oh, it was very, very, very interesting. The way it unfolds, it has layers like an onion. The way it has that
kind
stuff.
of, yeah.
It has layers like an onion. It unfolds and unfolds, and until you see the holy moly moments.
Oh yeah. And then it kind of evolves throughout his life, and then later on we see him in high school, and he's like with his friends, and then they try and convince him to go to a party, and there's like the part where they're like, because he's like, my parents won't approve of me leaving the house, and like, why don't you just do what is it called, like a hey boy?
A hey boy?
Yeah, they're like,
I have no
do a
idea
hey
what
boy.
was that, but it was something I just had no idea what it is.
And he's like, I don't know what a hey boy is. He's like, you don't know what a hey boy is? And then what it is like, it's basically tricking the parents into thinking that he's still asleep in his bed. They make literally a boy out of hay and put his clothes, in it. But it's funny because it's like obviously not, you could tell like it's not even trying to look like a real person. Normally like you would put like pillows underneath the sheets and it looks like there's someone under there, but it was literally just like his hay sticking out of his clothing. Like it just looked ridiculous. Like, obviously you could tell it's not a real person, but they believe that they fell for it, and he escaped and went to the party, and he was in horror because he found out it wasn't just any party. What kind of party was it?
A polka party.
I love it. It's very fitting because, of course, Al, I'm sure he grew up on polka, and, he's famous for doing his polka versions of like famous songs, mashing them together. And, he goes to a polka party, much to his horror, because he's afraid of his parents finding out. It's funny, like they're even passing around an accordion, like it's like pot or something. They're like, here, you go ahead, I'll take the accordion. He's like, no, I don't want to get into that stuff, man. My parents wouldn't approve of it. And then finally they convince him to take the accordion, and he plays like no one's ever played before because he's secretly practicing with the accordion that his mom bought him. And he's been practicing in the closet. And then, unfortunately, the police show up and raid it, like it's like some kind of, party where people are like drinking underage and whatnot. But they're just dancing to polka and stuff. I thought that was hilarious. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, it was so hilarious. I didn't know what twist and turns was gonna have, but
Oh yeah.
all in all, a very, very, very interesting movie.
Yeah. I mean, the whole movie was that kind of bizarre humor. Where it's just like, that's very like on brand with Weird Al. It's like stuff that you would see in UHF, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was so very different, so unusual.
Yeah.
But as you see the movie, it's very, very different.
Oh yeah,
It's very, very unusual.
It's like so intensely wacky
and weird.
Yeah, it's so intensely wacky that you can't help but laugh at it. Like the ridiculous situations that, and then I like how, especially when they take those ridiculous situations seriously, it just heightens the hilarity of it. Would you say so?
Yes.
Yeah. So
It
anyway,
heightens the hilarity. It's funny. It's ridiculous. But all in all, pretty good.
oh yeah, that's freaking awesome. Anyway, the cops show up. They actually they take Al into custody. They bring him to his parents because they broke up the illicit polka party, and of course his dad is disappointed. He's like, I don't even know who you are anymore. And then he actually comes out to his dad, says that he's a closeted accordion player, and that he's been playing his accordion. The dad won't have it, and he gets mad, and Al admits that he's been practicing accordion in the closet, and so the dad goes to the closet, and what does he do?
He smashes it.
Smashes his accordion and then Al just had about enough. He's like, I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna become the musician that I want to become. I'm gonna do parody songs if I want to. And he leaves home. And then later, we cut to finally Daniel Radcliffe playing Weird Al. Up to this point, it had been younger actors and stuff like that.
Which, however, he does a tremendous job and a very, very awesome performance.
Like I said, it's not a spot-on Weird Al impression, but I like that it's not, because he can go into those weird, absurd bits where he's like, drinking and lashing out and stuff like that. I feel like he flows into that perfectly.
Different biopic. I've seen biopics that are so awesome, but this one. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it follows a bit of that familiar biopic thing a little too closely. Like I said, it's very Dewey Cox-esque. I feel like that one was the epitome of the biopic parody.
Exactly. Very, very like that movie.
Yeah. But this one, of course, it has its own flavor to it. It goes the extra mile in being outlandish, which I think it kind of separates itself from Dewey Cox in a way.
Oh, yeah. But still a very, very, very good movie.
So we see, Weird Al. He's trying to find his way. He's trying to make his way. At this point, he's not known as Weird Al yet, but he's trying to find his way in the music world. He's like auditioning for bands and stuff. And then he's remember he auditions for like that punk band.
Yep.
What was he playing? He was he was playing Beat on the Brat. But of course, it's in the Weird Al style where he's playing accordion, beat on the brat with the baseball bat, and it's like all very like high tempo, like happy. And then there's like these punk guys sitting there in full gear and like just listening to him. They're like, yeah, that's not gonna work for us.
Yeah, because it sounds really, really, really.
He's like doing like at a polka tempo, which is what he usually does when he does like a straight up re-recording of a song. He'll do it like in the polka version of it. That's pretty much what it was. And they're like, no, that's not going to work for our style. So he's all disappointed. He's living with some roommates who are also musicians, which in real life, they're supposed to be like the members of his band. And so they're like trying to encourage him, like, don't give up. You got to, come up with your own, stuff. Come up with your own style. If you want to do parody music, do parody music. You just got to believe in yourself. And, he's like, it's hard to come up with parody music. It's, you got to come up with an idea. And he's like, I'm not at that point yet. And then remember they asked him to make him a sandwich. And that's when he sees the bologna in the fridge. And then he comes up with the idea. He hears the Knack on the radio playing, what was it, My Sharona?
My Sharona.
And that's when he comes up with the idea for his parody song, My Bologna.
Ooh, my little hungry one, open up a package of My Banana.
Dude, I've got chills.
And then it's, like classic, they like overly dramatic, like, the scene in a biopic movie where they come up with that iconic song. And then so they quickly rush off to record it in a bathroom, which is very similar to how it happened in real life, where they recorded. I don't know if it was My Bologna. I thought it was Another One Rides the Bus. I'm not 100% sure, but they recorded in real life. He actually did record one of his songs in a bathroom, and
because the acoustics
they couldn't afford.
Good?
I think they couldn't afford a studio or something, and then the acoustics in the bathroom were just right. And then one of them was actually the drummer was using his Weird Al's accordion case as a drum. Very low budget. They recorded it. And after they record the song in the bathroom, they mail it off to some radio DJ named Captain Buffoon. To see if they find success. And Al, when he gets back home, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be famous. They're gonna play it, and it's gonna become an instant hit. And then one of his band members is like, that's not how it works. You're not gonna get overnight success. It usually takes a lot of hard work, and you have to write a bunch of songs, and then you're gonna build your way to success. And he's like, man, nothing ever good happens for me. But it's, he expects instant like success. But what's funny is that it happens. Right? Remember then, like as he's saying that, he hears Captain Buffoon on the radio playing the song, and it does become an instant success, and they're all happy about it. They actually go to the record company. I don't think they say what record company it is, but it's headed by Weird Al himself, playing one of the record executives.
Yep.
It's like a pair of brothers. The other is Will Forte, right?
Weird Al himself and Will Forte.
They're playing the two record executives.
Well, Weird Al plays Tony, the record executive, but what a stellar performance by Weird Al and Daniel Radcliffe.
I love it. And then they take the recording of My Bologna to him, and he's saying, no, you're not going to have success. And then Will Forte's character, he's like laying it on extra thick. He's like, look at your look is ridiculous. Your stupid glasses and that stupid hair. And you're like, you're never going to make it. And then Weird Al's character is like, hey, you can tone it down a bit. But he's like, look, kid, if you want success, you got to write more than just one song. And so he inspires him to write more songs. And he's like, maybe, once you have more songs, you can come back to me. And then so at that point, he goes to, create more parody songs and whatnot. So after he gets rejected from the record company, he goes and he writes some more songs, and then he goes to he plays like that gross dive bar. It's like a punk biker bar or whatever, and everyone's getting drunk, throwing bottles around everywhere. And then he freaking you just see like Dr. Demento sitting in the corner in like full outfit. He has his top hat on, drinking a martini while all this chaos is going around him. He looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's holy moly.
He's just sitting there all proper, drinking his little martini, and everyone else is like freaking going nuts around him. I thought that was hilarious. I love that.
Well, I thought it was hilarious. But
Yeah.
Rainn Wilson, who plays Dr. Demento, awesome performance.
Yeah.
Some of you may know him as Dwight Schrute in the TV show series called The Office, which is awesome.
And it's funny because in the original Funny or Die sketch, Patton Oswalt plays Dr. Demento. And then they give Patton Oswalt a little cameo in this. He plays one of the bikers in the bar. And then, so Weird Al, he debuts another song, Rocky Road, of course, the parody of I Love Rock and Roll. They play it on stage.
Awesome.
First, he's getting heckled because he clearly looks like he doesn't belong there. But then he plays it. Everyone loves it. Everything he plays, everyone loves it. It's an instant classic. And even Patton Oswalt's character, I think he was heckling him earlier, and before he started playing, and then he started crying because the song was so good. And then Dr. Demento, he comes up to Weird Al. He's like, hey, I think you got really something special here. I want to be your mentor. Not just your mentor, your de-mentor, because he's Dr. Demento. And then so Weird Al's flattered. He's a big fan. He's a huge inspiration to Weird Al. So, just like in real life. And so of course, he takes Dr. Demento takes Al under his wings. I like that part where he's like, okay, I like your act, but we got to change your name. It's too long and cumbersome. Al Yankovic it's too much of a mouthful. Let's change it to Weird Al Yankovic. So he adds more onto it to make it more streamlined.
And it is awesome.
I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, and so he takes Al to his party that he's throwing at his house to meet a bunch of other famous people.
Yep.
At some
And we
point,
get to see some familiar guest stars.
it's like like any other biopic, they have those copious amounts of cameos
Yep.
from people playing other famous artists. And this
Really,
one,
really surprising.
let me see. We have a bunch of crazy characters. He meets with
Pee Wee Herman,
Tiny Tim, the other guy that plays the ukulele. He sees Gallagher there, Alice Cooper, Divine, Frank Zappa, John Deacon, of course, from he's played by, I forget what's his name, the actor from the Suicide Squad who played Polka Dot Man. He was also an Ant-Man too.
Kamika?
Yeah, I forget his name. But then we see Devo in the background. And we see Salvador Dali, played by, what was his name?
Emo Phillips.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a famous comedian. He was in UHF with Weird Al. He played the guy who cut his thumb off. And then who else does he meet? And he sees Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol?
Played by Conan O'Brien.
I
didn't notice it was him at first. And I saw him up close and I recognized his pasty face. But yeah, a bunch of hilarious cameos in the movie. And then we see Wolfman Jack, played by Jack Black.
Yep.
Of course, he's like, in the movie, he's like Dr. Demento's rival. And he shows up and he's like, I heard, he's talking to Weird Al. He's like, I heard about you, kid. It sounds like you got a lot of talent, but I bet you can't come up with something on the spot. He like challenges him to come up with a parody right then and there. And then that's when John Deacon comes up from Queen and he's like, hey, I want you to do a parody of one of my songs. How about, Another One Bites the Dust. And then so that's when Weird Al comes up with Another One Rides the Bus. He presses everybody. He blows them away with his ability to come up with parodies on the spot.
Yep. Very, very fantastic movie ever.
Yeah, and that's when John Deacon offers Weird Al the chance to play with Queen on stage during Live Aid. Of course, they're one of their most famous performances of all time. And then Weird Al's like,
Hard pass.
I think he's too cocky at this point, I guess. And at the end of the scene, they taser Wolfman Jack to get out of the party. I thought that was kind of random.
Yep, very, very, very random.
And then so at this point, Weird Al's blown up huge. He's being interviewed by Oprah and whatnot.
Yep.
Talking about his life. He has, he's gone platinum. He has, he's wearing like his platinum albums around his
and they're very, very uncomfortable.
He's wearing them around his neck on a chain. She's talking about how every time he writes a parody song for somebody, their song goes off the charts and it raises up the actual artist, to a higher status when he parodies one of their songs. And then we see Madonna, played by Evan Rachel Wood. She's watching the Oprah interview and she gets inspiration to work with Weird Al because she wants some of that, elevation from Weird Al's music. So she goes to see him later on. And then we also see that Pablo Escobar, the drug guy,
the drug lord.
The drug lord. He's also obsessed with Weird Al. He actually wants him to play his birthday party. It almost reminds me of what do you call that? That one Nicolas Cage movie.
The unbearable
weight.
Unbearable weight.
What's the guy? What's
Pedro
his name?
Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. He wanted him to perform at his birthday.
Oh,
Show up to his
yeah.
birthday party. It reminded me of that a little bit. So Pablo Escobar, he wants Weird Al to play at his birthday party, but he turns it down and whatnot. And then, of course, later we see Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna show up to Weird Al's house, and she's talking about how she thinks that he's great. And then, that's when he asks her about Like a Virgin. He's like, is that song true to life? She's like, yeah, except for the part, where I actually had a lot of sex in real life. I thought that was hilarious. And then at some point, Weird Al calls home to his mom because, Oprah at some point asks, oh, your parents must be very proud of you. And he kind of has
in a dazed, confused, sad-like state, but
because he knows his dad doesn't approve of his lifestyle, and so he's like that distant stare, and so he decides to call his mom, kind of update him on his success, and then she takes the time to remind him because you think she's going to say like, oh, your dad is wondering about you too, but she's like, no, your dad wanted me to tell you that he still disapproves of you and he thinks that everything you're doing is stupid. So she takes the time to remind him that, his dad hates everything that he's doing. And then so he kind of flips out, and that's when he starts throwing stuff around and he's really upset. I thought it was like, why would you do that? It reminded me of, again, like Dewey Cox. Every time the dad would show up and be like, the wrong kid died. It was that kind of vibe. Where he's constantly reminded that he's not loved, so that sends him in a spiral.
Yeah,
it sets up the rest of the movie, where he goes on a bit of a down note.
Yep.
So anyway, moving on. After Al gets off the phone with his mom, he's feeling down, and he goes to talk to Dr. Demento, who's in his room in the hot tub for some reason, just chilling out naked in Weird Al's hot tub. He's like, you can't go in a different hot tub. You have to be in the one in my room. He's like, hey, he's like, I think you got to move past this parody stuff. I think you're beyond that. Maybe you should start thinking about writing your own music. And maybe, you can start evolving your career into being something better. And then he gives him some LSD laced guacamole. And he sends Weird Al on a unsolicited trip into his mind.
Yep. Very unsolicited.
And that's when he starts seeing hallucinations of his parents in this weird hellscape. And then Dr. Demento's floating above him like an angel, trying to convince him to elevate himself beyond all this, beyond his fears and his hang-ups and whatnot. And then finally you see Weird Al emerge from an egg like so much Lady Gaga. And he's playing a guitar nude. All you see is his, from his torso up, but he's floating in an egg, and then he basically begins the evolution of Weird Al trying to write his own songs. And so his next song that he comes up with is "Eat It," which in the context of this movie, it's that song supposedly came first before "Beat It" by Michael Jackson. So I thought those were hilarious, like flip flop.
Very hilarious flip flop.
So like I mentioned before, Madonna shows up. She tries to convince them to work together, because, she really just wants to elevate her own music, having Weird Al do a parody of one of her songs. And they start talking back and forth. They start flirting, and they end up doing it in his house. They're like knocking down paintings the whole way. And then they knock down a bust of Weird Al. It kind of shows how she shattered, who Weird Al was and turning him into something else. Anyways, they end up sleeping together, and he admits to her that he lied about the fact that he was going to do a parody of her song, Like a Virgin, and that he's moved on beyond parodies. He's doing something else now, but she still has the intention of trying to get him to do a parody of her song. There's always like a little bit of sinisterness going in the background. She plays it like a really like super villain. In a regular movie, it would be like there's a little bit of good and bad in there in intention, but this one she plays almost like she's, like the old school villain twiddling their mustache. She's always scheming and plotting, and it becomes really heightened in the end to the point of utter ridiculousness. But we'll get there when we get there, right? Not to get too off topic.
Let's get too off topic.
So, later on, we see Dr. Demento. He's talking with Weird Al, and of course Madonna's there because she's attached to him at the hip, almost like a Yoko Ono type.
In a way,
he's talking about how he beat one of the Beatles records, selling hit records. He has the most singles in the top 10. And then Madonna's like making out with him the whole time. He's saying that Led Zeppelin wants to reunite, but only if they can open for Weird Al. And then he's also talking about how that's when he's talking about how Pablo Escobar wants Al to play one of his birthday parties. And he declines everything. He's like, no, I'm beyond all that. He's like, I'm better than doing all that stuff. So later on, we see Madonna and Weird Al. They go out to dinner. He says that it's been the happiest 6 hours of their life. It's funny. Like, you think they've been in like a long relationship at this point, but it's only been like the same day. It's only been 6 hours since they met. And he's really like super in love with her. And then that's when the executives call from the record company. They say that Michael Jackson came out with a parody of Eat It called Beat It. And it's funny because, the executive played by Weird Al, he's like, it's a parody song. It's about something about fighting or trying not to fight. He's like, I have no idea what it's about. But he's apparently, Michael Jackson parodied your song. He's like, what? That nobody from the Jackson 5? He's like, I can't believe it. He's so furious. He was like breaking stuff, and the waiter even comes over with his food. He slaps it out of his hand.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really, really random.
Yeah. I like how they flip-flop that. And then, so he gets so mad, and Madonna tries to get him to channel his rage by drinking. He's like, I don't drink. But he's like, but she's like, it'll really help. It'll really help with your anger. And so he's like, you know what? I trust you. And he starts turning him into an alcoholic, like a typical rock star in any biopic and whatnot. And then so he goes to, he goes to their first, one of the first huge gigs, all drunk, and he starts fighting with his band members, saying that, I'm the weird one, you're a bunch of nobodies, you're a bunch of normies. And so they get in a bit of a fight, and he storms off. He's going to go on a drive. Of course, he's drunk, and then Madonna, you think she's going to try and stop him from driving. She's like, no, you can't go without your keys. And she hands him the keys to go driving. And then he's like driving, trying to light a cigarette while he takes his hands off the wheels. He's all drunk, and then he gets on in a head-on collision. And then we see him go to the hospital. And earlier, when he was trying to come up with when he was kind of toying with the idea of coming up with a parody to Like a Virgin, he's like, nothing rhymes with virgin. I can't come up with it. And later on, when he goes to the hospital, remember, that's when he comes up with the idea. And then we see that's where the scene comes from in the beginning when he's in the hospital and he almost dies. And then we cut to the actual scene. We see Lin-Manuel Miranda there again. And then all of a sudden, Weird Al, he was just pronounced dead and he pops up. He's alive. And that's when he hears the beat of the heart monitor and slowly fades into like a surgeon. I love that. What did you think about that scene?
Oh, it was awesome.
Everyone's loving it. And then there's a point where he wants to stop because you can tell he's still a little out of it from the car crash. But then Madonna just keeps fueling him with alcohol and then telling him, okay, just one more song. We'll finish the set and then we'll go home. And then this point where he gets so drunk. Remember, he starts acting like Jim Morrison from The Doors.
Yep.
What did you think about that? I thought that was funny.
Oh, it was very, very interesting.
It was,
portrayed. That's not how the actual Weird Al did that
definitely
stuff.
But it was a direct parody of Jim Morrison from The Doors. I thought it was hilarious. It went almost into like Naked Gun territory, like where they're directly parodying a specific movie. It was almost like word for word one of Jim Morrison's drunken rants.
You're all a bunch of slaves!
He starts spitting alcohol everywhere, and then there's a point where he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna whip it out. You want to see it? I'm gonna whip it out." And and then he make it, just like Jim Morrison supposedly exposed himself at a concert in Florida. In real life, this is just directly parodying that. But it turns out when he whips it out, it's his accordion. He whips out his accordion. The police, they're having none of it. He's getting too rowdy, and they tackle him. I thought that was funny. And then you see it in the news that he was arrested in Dade County, which is the same county that Jim Morrison was arrested in. I thought that was pretty fucking clever. What do you think?
Very, very, very clever. No doubt.
Yeah. And then later on, after this whole debacle and whatnot, Madonna and Weird Al, they're going to dinner. And, they're talking how Madonna wants Weird Al to go on tour with him, and she can come up with new songs that are hits, and he could parody them. It's like a perfect dynamic. And at first he wasn't wanting to do parody songs, but he realizes that, hey, you're all I have, Madonna. My parents kind of disowned me. My band members think I'm a jerk now. And, basically he's like, you're all I have. And at the same moment, this is when the movie goes completely off the rails. So if you want to be completely surprised, I would check out at this moment. But it's freaking hilarious. The movie goes full on action movie at this point. So spoiler alert, at the moment where he realizes that Madonna is all he has, she gets kidnapped. A bunch of people come in and they put like a bag over her head and they like drag her out of the restaurant or diner, wherever they at, and then Weird Al has like a full on like action scene fight with a bunch of people in the diner. He's like beating up people. It was
so surprised.
Yeah.
And so surprising.
It was very
Random!
but I loved it. It was freaking hilarious.
Oh, I loved it. It was hilarious.
Yeah, Radcliffe did a great job with the action scene.
Oh yeah, very, very, very good. Daniel Radcliffe is a very, very good actor.
It was very like 80s action flick, like Commando style, just like beating the shit out of people.
Oh yeah, very, very, very
it also
much.
reminded me a little of that restaurant scene in Dumb and Dumber where he's beating up people. It was fucking funny as hell. And then I love the very last scene of that fight sequence. He gets the last person and he shoves their head into the grill and he burns their head. Remember, he's like, order up. Yeah, he has the one-liners, the classic action one-liners in this. He has another great one later on. So basically from there, he has to go and find Madonna. So what does he do? Does he call the authorities? No. He's Weird Al. He'll take it into his own hands. So he gears up. He puts on a camo, like a camouflage Hawaiian shirt, and he goes to the jungles to find Pablo Escobar. Because he at some point, one of the henchmen yells, "Pablo Escobar sends his regards." So he's Pablo Escobar's bitter that Weird Al won't play at his birthday party. So he kidnapped Madonna. And Weird Al has to go seeking out Pablo Escobar to find Madonna. So he braves the jungles and he goes, there's like these two guys with machine guns. They're all, to the nines in gear and whatnot, tactical stuff. And I love that scene where he tricks the He tricks the two the guards. Remember how does he do it?
Oh, yeah, he tricks him by just shooting and...
Remember he creates a diversion with what? It was a callback to the beginning of the movie.
Accordion?
No. Remember he uses the hay boy.
Oh, the hay boy, yeah.
He dresses up a pile of hay in clothing, and he tricks him into thinking it's him, and they go shooting at him, and then he attacks him from behind, knocks him out. I love that. I love that callback to the beginning. It's so ridiculous. The whole hay boy.
Very, very, very ridiculous.
It was ridiculous that the parents got tricked into thinking a pile of hay was their son. It's even more ridiculous that these guys, got tricked into thinking that it was a real person standing there. I love it. It's great. Anyway, he goes out, all out to try and take down Pablo Escobar. He gets one of the, I think he gets the machine gun from one of the guards, right? And then so he shows up at Pablo Escobar's party with the machine gun pointed at everybody. And then Pablo Escobar's just happy that he showed up. That was his plan all along. He's like, Weird Al's just like, I just want my woman. And then Pablo Escobar's, hey, you're here. Why don't you just play one of your songs? Hey, how about you play that parody song? Your parody of that Michael Jackson song. And that's when Weird Al just flips his lid. He's like, that's not a parody, that's an original. And then he starts gunning down all of Pablo Escobar's men. Remember you were talking about that. It reminds me of that scene from UHF where he plays that Rambo character.
Oh, yeah. Very, very nostalgic.
Yeah, it's very invoking that image. And then Pablo Escobar's, hey, if you don't have to do that. Like, if you don't want to play, you could just go. And then he's like, Weird Al's like, really? And he's like, no. And then he goes to shoot Weird Al. Boom. But he is saved. What saves Weird Al?
The records on his chest that he was wearing.
Apparently, he's wearing. It reminds me of that scene out of that was it Fistful of Dollars or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Or the one they also referenced it in Back to the Future 3. But he apparently his platinum records that he's wearing around his neck saves his life. The bullet gets embedded in there, but it stops it from going into his body. And then he gets one of the platinum records, takes it off his chain, and he flings it into Pablo Escobar's head, and it freaking cuts him in like a freaking saw blade or something, and it gets embedded in his skull. It kills him. Madonna's like, you killed Pablo Escobar. But then not only that, then she wants to take over Pablo Escobar's drug empire. But
Which I thought was really, really, really weird.
She's like, someone needs to fill the spot. It just keeps getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Like, went from...
I have no idea how this movie got a little weird.
Yeah, it went full on like crazy action flick. And so she gets so greedy. She's like, someone needs to take over his empire. We can be that empire. I can be number one and you can be my second in command. And he's like, really? He's like, Dr. Demento was right. It was all about the money. And he's like, and then it took this to realize that, what, we should break up. And so he leaves her, and then Madonna's just left there thinking like, what, this relationship is dissolved. And she gets one of Pablo Escobar's guns and tries to shoot him, but he's just like casually walking away, and she's like a terrible shot. And she keeps missing every shot, just like slowly walking away, sad, out into the jungle.
Yeah, it was very, very out of character. But in a way,
I think that's the whole point
very,
of the movie.
very
I think that's the whole point of the movie. Everyone's out of character, but in a hilarious way, in a way that you wouldn't expect. It's so extreme.
Very, very surprising in that movie.
Yeah.
A lot of surprises, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of layers, like an onion.
Oh, yeah.
It's so surprising. Has some of that holy moly moments. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then at this point, Weird Al, he decides that, you know what, maybe I should give up music. And he actually goes to work at his dad's factory. And he still doesn't know what the hell they make there. You see him, he's just kind of like the guy that's helping him out, that's, giving him a tutorial on how to use the machine. He's like, you're going to flip this lever, and then when the light turns green, you're going to turn the knob. And when the light turns red, you're going to flip the lever again. And then back and forth like that. And then he's like, so what do we actually make here? And the guy just kind of laughs at him, right?
Yep.
He's just like, your dad told me that you were funny. What do we make here? And he walks away, and then Weird Al's just so confused. He's like, okay. So he's just flipping levers and turning knobs. And at one point, I think he does it wrong, and then the machine goes crazy. And his dad shows up, and then Weird Al thinks he's going to be berated by his dad. And he's like, what are you doing here, boy? He's like, what? First off, I'm not good enough because I don't work at your factory. And now I'm not good enough to work at your factory. he's like, just go ahead and take a swing at me or whatever you're gonna do. And then at the point, then that's when he tells him like, hey, you know what, you shouldn't be working here. Not because you're not good enough, but because you're too good for this place. And then at that point, he reveals that, he thinks he should be doing music. And, that's the big emotional moment of the movie.
Very, very emotional.
He's proud of him for who he is. He realizes that now.
Very, very proud of him.
And then later on,
I could not believe it. It was very, very awesome.
It was a good scene. And then later on, they go back to, his childhood home. They're having dinner together. The mom gained a significant amount of weight, which is it was kind of like a mislead into a parody idea. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the makeup, what do you think? That was hilariously bad. I don't know if that was done intentionally.
I have no idea.
Not to shit on the makeup artist's work, but
I have no idea. Maybe it was a little different looking.
It was really awkward looking. They tried to make her look
Julianne Nicholson nails that role.
They tried making her look like fat, but it just looked weird and like mutant like. I don't know. It was weird.
It was weird.
Anyway, it was perfect for the movie. Anyway, so they're talking about how earlier in the movie, the mom was saying how there's a reason why the dad was so strict on him, and then finally he reveals why.
He's Amish.
He used to be Amish apparently. Then he went. There's in real life Amish culture. There's a point where they go out into the real world, decide if they still want to be part of the Amish community, and they experience like the outside world, and then they return to the Amish community. And at the point where he was out in the real world, he comes across an accordion, and that was his first great love before his wife. And then he brought it back, and he was shunned from the Amish community because of his accordion. And so he had a bad experience with accordions and music, and that's why he tried to protect his son from the accordion life.
I can understand about that stuff, but what a twist and what a turn.
Yeah, and it was funny because he was saying like, I had my dreams crushed, and so he decided to crush his son's ideas before they became dreams. And he's like, okay, I guess that's something. Like, I guess that was a kind of an idea. But then he realized that he shouldn't keep him from his dreams and whatnot. And then at that moment, then he opens up a book because he doesn't have a photo album because he's Amish. They don't have machines or any kind of thing like that. So he kept like a sketchbook of his childhood, and a piece of paper falls out with a song that he wrote called Amish Paradise, which of course in real life it was the parody of Gangster Paradise by the late Coolio. Rest in peace.
Which he makes a appearance. Wait a minute.
Well, not in what?
In the Weird movie, didn't Coolio make an appearance? Or?
Well, it was a fake Coolio, but he kind of. We see him later on. We'll get into that in a bit. But it's funny because when Weird Al finds the song that his dad wrote called Amish Paradise, then all of a sudden he gets the idea. Hey, mom, wait, you were talking about how you gained weight and how you're fat now. Maybe I can make a song about something like that. And the mom's like, hey, that was. She's like, that idea passed. We're on to something new now. She's like, keep up. It was hilarious. It was funny because it was like a mislead earlier in the movie, thinking he was going to come up with the idea for the song Fat. But then all of a sudden when he gets the idea for Amish Paradise, then he goes back to the fat idea, and the mom's like, no, just focus. We're on to this now. We're on to this idea now.
Yeah, it was very,
like breaking the fourth wall a little bit.
Went from this to that.
It was a little fourth wall breaking.
A little fourth wall breaking, just in like the She-Hulk episode.
I know, yeah. And then so anyway, she guides him back onto coming with Amish Paradise, and then later we cut to him performing Amish Paradise in the auditorium with the fans in the audience. It's kind of like his big redemption song, almost like in Bohemian Rhapsody, where they performed at Live Aid, and that was their big redemption. This one is Weird Al's big redemption song. So he does Amish Paradise. And like you mentioned earlier, we see a version of Coolio. It's not really Coolio, but it's, Coolio played by a different actor. And you can see he's sitting in the audience mad because in real life, Coolio, he never gave his permission. There was a bit of a mix-up. Usually in real life, Weird Al asks permission from all the people that he does parodies from as courtesy to them. To make sure that it's cool with them that he's doing a parody of their song. And apparently something got mixed up, and Coolio never gave his permission, and he put out the song, and there's a bit of a little bit of animosity there between Coolio and Weird Al. And so that was a bit of a reference to that, because you see Coolio sitting in the audience kind of mad that he's doing that song. Of course, this was before his passing and whatnot. But yeah, I thought that was a little nod, a fun nod to real life.
It was very, very nostalgic.
So everyone loves the performance of Amish Paradise, and later on when he gets off stage, remember Dr. Demento? He asks Weird Al if he can adopt him.
Yeah, it was very, very odd, but
he's like, I want to adopt you, and he's like, I'm sorry, I just made up with my parents, and he's like, oh, he's trying to pretend like he's fine with it. He's like, oh, well, that's great, yeah. And then Weird Al walks off, and he has like a little horn that he squeaks, and he squeaks it all sadly.
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing performance by Rainn Wilson.
Yeah, it was
very,
great.
Very awesome performance. I thought that he nailed that Dr. Demento character perfectly.
Yeah, well, he was nothing like the real Dr. Demento, but that's what made it hilarious. No one was like they should have been, and that was perfectly hilarious. And later on, we see Weird Al being presented with an award from Diana Ross and Hulk Hogan. They're, of course, played by actors. And then we see him accepting the award on stage. The only other person that was going up for the award was Prince. I forget what the category, but it was like artist, who plays an odd instrument going up for a specific genre of music award. And then it was only him and Prince, and Prince lost to Weird Al. He goes up on stage to accept his award, and then it's so random. Like we see as Weird Al gets up, there's this big guy. Spoiler alert, this is the final big Shyamalan twist of the movie. Mm-hmm. We see this big guy. He takes Weird Al's place in his seat, and he's like this big muscly army dude setting up a machine gun. No one notices. No one cares. He just has like a chain full of, ammunition, and then he's setting up his machine gun the whole time. Weird Al's accepting his speech. And then and the movie cuts to Madonna and her return. And she's on the walkie-talkie saying, take him out now.
Which I thought was weird, but...
And then apparently she became the drug lord that she wanted to become, and she had Weird Al assassinated.
It was just random. Really, really, really random.
Yeah. So she had Weird Al said, and that's how the movie ends. The movie ends with in 1985, Weird Al was assassinated at I forget where they were at. Some kind of forum, or I forget. But it ends up with like a little title card. Weird Al was assassinated on this date, and he will be remembered forever. And it ends with like a phony montage of like the real life Weird Al. At first they showed like real pictures of the real Weird Al, and then they have like clearly photoshopped pictures of the real Weird Al in the situations that happened in the movie, like him running through the forest with a machine gun and hanging out, with a bunch of random people,
which is a direct
drinking on
reference to
stage.
UHF, one of the best movies ever.
Yeah. Like the whole Rambo scene, and then they photoshopped him drinking alcohol on stage and acting crazy.
That never happened, but
yeah.
Sometimes a person has to get creative with that stuff, but I have no idea how this movie was going to take a turn in this movie, but it had layers and layers and twists and turns. Very, very awesome. Very, very a different take on this Weird Al character. But Daniel Radcliffe, who does this amazing performance, who does it with an audacious performance.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I thought he was an excellent choice for this. It's good to see that he was doing like a direct impersonation of Weird Al. He just kind of did his own thing, which is perfect. And of course, everyone kind of played it like, really like wacky, no one played it like their character really was supposed to be. One of the only people that kind of played it straight was the actress who played Oprah, Quinta Brunson from Albert Elementary. She wasn't too outlandish with her character.
Very, very outlandish.
A lot of the other people playing the famous celebrities and whatnot, they went really wacky with it. But yeah, especially the ones that were like the main characters of the show, like Weird Al, Madonna, Dr. Demento. They just played like completely, out there versions of their character, which I thought was great. Overall, what would you rate this movie?
I would rate it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, I would rate it pretty high. I would say, it definitely had a level of predictability. Like I referenced before, I think Dewey Cox did it perfectly. And this follows in the same arc where it's like they take elements from other biopics and they kind of implant their character into it. So, I mean, it was very predictable. But overall, like, it had some surprising moments. Like, I think especially how outlandish it went in the end. It turned
very outlandish
into like an action movie.
Kids,
and I'd expect
and for the adults who are going to watch this, watch it very, very, very carefully.
Yeah. But like I said, I didn't expect that random twist in the end. I think that elevated it.
I did not
quite a
expect
bit
either.
I would say out of 10, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. I definitely liked it a lot. Definitely had its predictability, but definitely on brand with Weird Al and his comedy. Danny Radcliffe is excellent. Yeah, I would recommend this movie. Hey, it's for free on Roku channel. Go check it out.
Yep. It's free on the Roku channel.
Definitely hilarious.
It's hilarious. And
I thought it worked perfectly fine as a small sketch, but for usually when they extend out small sketches like this, it has a really tendency of overstaying its welcome. It's like sometimes small sketches only work as small sketches. I think they did a good job of expanding the story and the comedy and the scenarios, and it really went off the rails. I think that's when it really got exciting, when it really just took it in a whole different direction. I appreciate that they added that bit in there that was so outlandish. It was worth staying till the end. Yeah. And I think that's all we pretty much have to say about this.
Yeah,
I definitely recommend it. High rental.
Very, very,
You don't have to rent it.
Weird movie, but all in all,
Very fitting though, because it's named Weird and it's about Weird Al.
I give it a thumbs up.
It's good to hear his music.
Very, very legendary. Of course,
he did all his own singing.
Very, very awesome and very, very nostalgic. I might add.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, this has been fun watching this movie. I've been waiting for it to come out forever, and I'm glad we saw it.
I saw the trailer, and I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah, I would definitely.
Still, I was surprised how the movie turned out. It was funny in the beginning. it kind of got a little serious. There was twists and turns, so many layers.
Oh yeah,
so many
unexpected
cameos.
stuff. Oh yeah, all the cameos were great. That was pretty great. Well, this has been fun. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ the Movie Man Wagner, also known as the COE, the chairman of entertainment of the men who watch movies.
Excellent!
All right. And we hope you join us next time. We're available on YouTube, of course. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We have a Twitter. Even though it's been overtaken. No, it's joking. We're available at Men Watch Movies. We also have an Instagram at Men Watching Movies. Make sure to like and subscribe and all the other stuff that we need to thrive. And make sure to return next week. We're sorry about
link down below.
The lack of episode. Like I said, it was a
your
little
comments
faux
down
pas.
below, and let us know about the comments, and let us know how you like the movie, and give us your opinion about the movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. Throw in your comments below and all that good stuff, like they say in YouTube land. And we'll see you again next week. And we want to remind you to
keep on watching.
Thank you, everybody.
1 million subscribers, folks.
We're not even close, but that's okay.
We're almost.